Suika is the perfect character for the new arc in Dr. Stone. I think we can all agree this whole South America arc has been pretty depressing. Luckily, as you probably guessed, everyone's favorite detective is here to save the day. But you might be wondering why Inagaki chose Suika. I mean, why not Luna? Why not Dr. Chelsea? Well, the reason he chose Suika is because she ties in with one of the major themes for South America. That's why, in this video, I'm gonna discuss why humans are so special and explain how Suika helps us understand that. Be warned that this video contains major spoilers for the manga. Before I get started, make sure to comment with your thoughts on Suika. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week in the next video. This week's comment comes from the Immortal State, who shared their thoughts on petrification. If you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. To get started, let's look at what separates Suika from everyone else. To be quite honest, she's just not as skilled or talented as the others. Now, before you dislike and report the video, just hear me out. Suika is definitely useful when it comes to her detective skills, but those skills aren't really a product of any talents or special training. It's just the natural product of her being able to sneak around because she's so small. Meanwhile, everyone else has skills and talents that are just way more impressive by comparison. There's the brute strength of the power team, Senku's insane genius, Gen's crafty mind tricks. Even less impressive characters like Luna, Ginro, and Yo have skills that they acquired through special training. Plus, you have to remember that everyone else is a lot older than Suika, so on top of all their skills, the others just have more life experience. Again, I'm not saying all this just to bash on Suika. It's very much a part of her character. We know from early on that Suika is a character who wants to feel useful. And when Senku was working on the cell phone, Suika went out of her way to ask how her and the other kids could be useful. So the feeling of not being useful is something that is very important to understanding Suika's character. And it's even more important to understanding why she needed to be the character who saves everyone. One thing I hate to see is the idea that you could only pull off all the events of Dr. Stone because of Senku's genius. This is true to a point because Senku's knowledge of science obviously makes things a lot easier, and let's be honest, we're all glad it was Senku who woke up first and not Taiju. But the idea that it could never be done without his genius completely goes against the themes of the story. Senku says right away in Chapter 2, it's not that some things can't be explained. We just have to find out the rules and principles and then we can apply them through diligence. So while Senku is special in the sense that he's clearly very talented in terms of learning and critical thinking, there's nothing he can do that the others can't. He just knows the rules of the game a lot better than everyone else. Once you know the rules, it's only a matter of putting in the work. And this is exactly what we see when we watch Senku begin his survival. He already knows all the rules for finding food and building shelter, but he still needs to put in the work. So when Senku says, "I'm a human" to that Greek chorus of chimps, it lets us know that this is what makes being a human so special. The ability to innovate and solve problems by figuring out and applying the rules of the game. And while this theme is sprinkled throughout the story in scenes like the one where Chrome breaks out of jail, it's made especially clear in South America. When Senku's team learns that the Medusas are powered by diamonds, they ask the Corn City team, aka the only one with a diamond expert, to make some diamonds from scratch. Now look, if I said to you, "Hey, could you do me a favor and whip up some diamonds for me?" You'd probably say something like, no, Walter White, I can't just whip you up some diamonds. What are you talking about?" And this is basically the response we get from the Corn City team. They understandably wonder how they're supposed to cook something up as rare as a diamond. But notice what Senku says to them. The pros don't hold an exclusive patent on science. I mean, of course they don't. What kind of jackass gets a non-exclusive patent? Okay, so maybe that's not where Senku was going with this. What Senku means is that once he tells them how to do it, the Corn City team will be just as capable of making diamonds as anyone else. And while they do have to work out a few kinks in their model, the Corn City team eventually manages to make diamonds from scratch without any of the scientists doing it for them, emphasizing the idea that once you know the rules of the game, all that's left is putting in the work. This means that scientific endeavors are not exclusive to people with PhDs. Let me put it this way, if Taiju can make diamonds, there's really no excuses. I hate to bash on my buddy Taiju 2 times now, but it's no secret that the boy's got a coconut for a head. Anyway, at this point you might be thinking, well, if Senku just tells them how to do it, then doesn't that make it less impressive since they didn't figure it out on their own? And this is another idea that, while understandable, also goes against the themes of Dr. Stone. This line of thinking is something that often comes up in the Dark Souls community. For those who aren't aware, Dark Souls is a game specifically designed to challenge players. Part of that challenge is dying to enemies hundreds of times before you learn how to beat them. Now, in the age of the internet, many players just skip that challenge and look up how-to videos. And hardcore fans will tell you not to do this because it defeats the purpose of learning how to play the game. But that's Dark Souls, a game specifically designed for players to learn on their own. In real life, figuring out the rules on your own is inefficient and, quite frankly, just plain stupid. As we're shown in Dr. Stone, another part of science is sharing information with the goal of finding something even better. And this is another theme that's emphasized in South America. When Dr. Zeno says that there's no point in rebelling against Stanley, Ryusui reminds him that the essence of science is taking what you can, even if it's one small step, and using it to move forward. The team doesn't give up because they know if one of them can make even the smallest achievement, then one of them can use it to win. Later, when Kaseki feels defeated after failing to replicate the Medusa on his own, Joel assures him that his effort didn't go to waste. By sharing the hint about the cleavage plane, which sadly has nothing to do with boobs, Kaseki managed to help Joel make a Medusa. Here, it doesn't matter that Joel didn't figure it out on his own. What matters is that he took the lesson from Kaseki, applied it, and came out with something even better. If he hadn't shared that info, then neither of them would have a Medusa. And this is part of what makes humans so special. Not only can we learn the rules of the game and use them to our advantage, but we also have a talent for pooling information and learning things we could never imagine on our own. So those are the two ideas to work with in South America. Anyone can benefit from science once they know the rules, and sharing those rules means working towards the future. At this point, it makes perfect sense why Inagaki chose Suika to save everyone. Unlike Kaseki or the Corn City team, Suika doesn't have any impressive talents. Plus, she's just a kid with basically no life experience. But when she cries at the thought of dying alone, Suika remembers that Senku was in the same situation but managed to survive using science. The only difference now is that Suika has all the rules she needs. By using everything she's learned, Suika manages to cook food, build shelter, and even move her friends with her own invention. With the map from Dr. Chelsea, she can basically find whatever she needs. And with the instructions from Senku, Suika can replicate what took a super genius months to figure out on his own. So when we look at the current situation, we have to consider everything that was set up during South America. We had a group of people with no experience in science build diamonds from scratch by following the rules and applying them. Then, we witnessed a game-changing discovery thanks to one expert passing on what he learned to someone else. So when the battle ends and we see that Suika is the first one to be revived, it's because she is the logical next step to this conversation about science. Inagaki has been slowly trying to tell us that anyone can benefit from science. And who better to drive that point home than a kid who's half-blind and basically has no talents? That's why we see Suika reenact that iconic scene from Senku's survival. It lets us know that this is what it means to be human. By borrowing the knowledge of others, learning the rules of the game, and applying it all through hard work, any person from any walk of life has the potential to replicate even the greatest of scientific innovations. And that's it for this discussion. If you enjoyed this discussion, then make sure to like the video. Also make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I'm planning on starting weekly Shonen Jump and Dr. Stone streams every Sunday. And if you'd like more Dr. Stone and other manga discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.